Hey guys, I welcome you all to my channel. This is Anirudh. Okay, so let's begin with the discussion of the projectile motion. Okay, so first of all, let me formally define this. Projectile motion is a two-dimensional motion. Okay, this two-dimensional motion can be divided into a one-dimensional motion and this is another one-dimensional motion. So first one-dimensional motion is along the horizontal. Okay, let us imagine you are going through in a car which is actually having a uniform velocity. So this horizontal motion is actually a uniform motion. The component of the motion in the horizontal direction is uniform motion. Okay, now the other one-dimensional motion is along the vertical. Let us suppose you are throwing a ball upwards, so it goes up. As it goes up, the velocity comes down. At the topmost point, the velocity of the ball is 0. Then it comes down again, the velocity of the ball increases, and with the same velocity with which you throw it up, the same velocity with which it will be coming and landing onto your hand. Okay, so that is called by the name of vertical motion. Now this vertical motion is a uniformly accelerated motion, or some teachers call it as uniformly decelerated motion also. So this is how we can formally define this. A projectile motion is a two-dimensional motion. Two-dimensional motion means two one-dimensional motion together. Okay, this is one-dimensional plus one dimension. So one along the horizontal, one along the vertical. The horizontal motion is uniform motion and the vertical motion is uniformly accelerated motion. Now, this is a body which I am throwing at an angle of theta from the horizontal with the velocity of u inclined to the horizontal at an angle of theta. Now this particular body will be having both these motions side by side. So this is one component of motion along horizontal, the other component of motion is along vertical. So this is a two-dimensional motion in that way. So this is u. Okay, so the horizontal motion is uniform motion. So this horizontal component of velocity is u cos theta and the vertical component of the initial velocity is u sin theta, right? I'm just dividing this into two. Okay, u cos theta, u sin theta. Let us say that t time has been elapsed. After t time, it is at this particular position. So at this particular position, as I was saying, the horizontal motion is uniform motion. That means the velocity will remain a constant, that is u cos theta. At any point of this particular trajectory, the horizontal velocity is the same. At any point of trajectory, the horizontal velocity is the same. Even if at this point, if you take the horizontal velocity is only u cos theta. At this point, again the horizontal velocity is u cos theta. Why? Because it is uniform motion. The velocity is a constant. But here the velocity in the upward direction, that is uniformly accelerated motion. That means I can use the equation v is equal to u minus of gt, and this is in the y direction. So this is a y component of velocity. This was u sin theta as the initial velocity, that is u sin theta minus of gt, where t is the time taken for the projectile to cover this much of distance to reach this much of height. Okay, so this is how you go for discussion of the basic structure or the basic trajectory, the information about the basic trajectory of the projectile. At this position, the vertical velocity Vy is equal to 0, while the horizontal velocity is still u cos theta. Right now, as it comes down, the velocity in the y direction keeps on increasing, and then this velocity will be equal to the initial velocity in the y direction while it comes down and hits over here, right? So that is the entire concept of projectile motion. Now we have to define certain things over here. So this much height is the maximum height covered by the projectile. I will be denoting it as h. Okay, now this is the distance covered by the projectile in the horizontal direction. I will be calling this as r, or r for the range of the projectile. Okay, if the time taken to cover the entire trajectory is called as the time of flight. Okay, any discussion is fruitless without defining the formula or deriving some equations for these three components: maximum height, range, and time of flight. So let's proceed into the derivation of certain important equations for that. See, I am talking about that particular component of motion which is taking it upwards, that is vertical component. It is because of the vertical velocity that it is covering a height, isn't it? It is moving upwards because of vertical velocity. Had there been only a horizontal velocity, it will become a one-dimensional motion. The body will go in the same straight line. But here this body is having a vertical velocity also, due to which it is going upwards. So that vertical velocity, initial velocity is u sine theta, right? It goes up, right? So I can simply use the equation v is equal to u minus of gt over here to reach the upward. Okay, so if this is the time taken to reach the topmost point, I can say that at the topmost point this velocity is equal to 0. I am talking about only and only the vertical component of velocity. So this is equal to time taken is equal to u divided by g, isn't it? Uy divided by g. Okay, I'm talking about only the vertical component. So what is the time taken to reach the upward topmost point? That will be u sine theta divided by g, because uy, that is vertical component, is u sine theta. I'm just plugging it over here. So what is the time of flight then? Time of flight is simply twice of that. It takes this much of time to reach the topmost point. Now from there to come down, it again takes this much of time. So that will be equal to 2 times u sine theta divided by g. Right? So that is the first equation that you're supposed to learn.
Okay guys, listen to this. So if I am saying that it is the vertical motion or the vertical component of velocity, the vertical velocity that takes it to the upward direction, that takes it to the top and then brings it back, then am I correct? Yes, if you are agreeing with this, then I can understand that you have understood this. So yes, I am talking about something called by the name of vertical velocity. So uy, that is initial vertical velocity, is equal to u sine theta, isn't it? Okay, now I am only focusing on the vertical motion. Okay, vertical one-dimensional motion of this two-dimensional motion called as projectile. If I just consider the vertical component of its motion, it reaches the topmost point in half of the total time of flight. So if my time of flight is given by 2u sine theta by g, then I can understand that half of that, okay, half of that is equal to u sine theta by g. So with this much of time, it reaches the topmost point where the vertical velocity is equal to 0. So at the topmost point, the vertical velocity is equal to 0, and the time taken for this particular body to reach that particular topmost point where the vertical velocity is equal to 0 is u sine theta by g. Now, I can simply use the equations of uniformly accelerated motion here, because yes, the vertical component is uniformly accelerated motion. So what are the equations here? V is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, v square is equal to u square plus 2as. Now the value of acceleration will be minus g in all these cases. So I'm using this particular s is equal to ut minus of half gt square. What is the u value here? I'm considering only the vertical component, so that is u sine theta multiplied by t. What is time to reach the topmost point? This is the time to reach the topmost point, multiplied by u sine theta by g. Okay, minus of half multiplied by g multiplied by t square. What is the time here? U sine theta by g. You square it, so that will be u square sine square theta by g square. Okay, this will get cancelled off. And what is this distance? This distance is the maximum height of the projectile, right? This is the maximum height of the projectile. So it goes from this area to that area. Now if this angle is theta, then I know that this is u. So this will be u sine theta. It is this vertical velocity given to the projectile, vertical component of the velocity that it takes to reach this, to make this particular body reach the topmost point. Why is it moving from this position to this position while it reaches the topmost point? Why is it not going in the same straight line? Because of the horizontal component. So this particular u cos theta is going to transfer this as it goes upwards. This u cos theta component is going to transfer this to the other side. So it has two velocities. Both of them are independently acting at the same time. Now at this particular moment, its Vy is equal to 0. Fine, that is why h is equal to u sine u square. Okay, this is actually ut minus half gt square, isn't it? You can just solve this. You will directly get it as this is u square sine square theta by g minus of half of u square sine square theta by g. So that will be u square sine square theta by 2g. So this is the second important equation that you are supposed to know. Okay, this is the equation for the maximum height reached by the projectile. Now we have one more component also, that is this much distance, that is called as the range of the projectile. This is called as the range of the projectile. So range is actually the horizontal distance covered by the projectile in its motion from the initial position to the final position. Come again. Horizontal distance covered by the projectile in its motion from the initial position to the final position. So how will I get this? What is responsible for it to transverse? What is responsible for it to travel the horizontal distance? It is the horizontal component of velocity. Because of u cos theta, it is moving from this position to that position in the horizontal direction. Now horizontal motion is uniform motion. Horizontal motion is uniform motion. So distance is equal to, okay, speed into time. Okay, this is simply our very favorite, which is not at all complicated, very simple thing called as uniform motion, where the velocity is a constant. And definitely, what is this distance here? This is the range. So that range r is equal to, what is the speed in the horizontal direction? U cos theta. I said it is u cos theta, which is going to transfer this from this point to this point in the horizontal direction, multiplied by time. What is the time taken from for the body to go from here to here? It is the time of flight, total time that it takes to cover from the initial position to the final position, that is 2u sine theta by g. See guys, there is 2 sine theta and cos theta. Okay, 2 sine theta cos theta, that is the expansion for sine 2 theta. So there is a 2 over here. So r is equal to u square. Okay, this is u square sine square sine 2 theta by g. Okay, that is the correct answer here. See, 2 sine theta cos theta is the expansion of the expression, that is sine 2 theta. Sine 2 theta is equal to 2 sine theta cos theta. Okay, u square sine 2 theta by g. So there we have the three important equations. Okay, so we'll just quickly summarize this at the end of this. So the first equation that we were learning was about the time of flight of the projectile. If I'm denoting this by capital T, then it is 2u sine theta by g. The range is equal to u square sine 2 theta by g, and the maximum height attained by the projectile during the time of its motion, this is equal to u square sine square theta divided by 2g. So this is all with the very basic discussions that any class teacher will teach you whenever this kind of a topic is discussed in the topic of projectile motion. So let us now solve, after this, let us now solve some standard questions in projectile motion. Although projectile motion has not been asked per se, projectile motion per se has not been asked in 2017 paper. When I just checked that, I did not see any question from this. In 2018 also I did not see any question from this, and in 2019 also there wasn't any question from projectile motion per se. So as of now, let us prepare for 2020 exam, where we will be just discussing certain standard questions which require some specific attention from your side. Okay, you can revise those questions that I'm going to tell you after this. Okay, let's proceed to those questions now. Okay guys, in the figure A and B, so this A and B are 2 points on the path of a projectile. They have given this point as A and this point as B. Average velocity between A and B will be. So this is the question. See, we need to find the average velocity of the projectile between A and B. Okay. So this is a very important question. You can directly get this, and if you get that, if you know the concept, then you say that okay, they are giving you a direct sure shot hit for the exam. This is a very simple question, provided you know the concept. Okay. So what is this? You know that actually average velocity is equal to the relative displacement. Okay, between A and B, okay, that is the relative displacement between A and B, okay, A and B, and this is to be divided by displacement by the time taken, okay, time taken to cover the distance from A to B. So what is the relative displacement between A and B? So the relative distance between A and A, displacement between A and B is this much, isn't it? It is always a straight line. The displacement between 2 points is always a straight line connecting them. The shortest distance between 2 points is the straight line connecting them. So that is equal to AB. So this is the shortest distance possible. You will call this as the relative displacement between A and B, and this is to be divided by the time. Fine. So that is equal to, so how will you proceed with this? Now tell me guys, what is the velocity responsible for moving the projectile in the horizontal direction? That will be the horizontal velocity. It is u cos theta at any point of this particular projectile, it is the same. And it is this particular velocity which is responsible for moving the projectile in the horizontal direction, isn't it? So what is the relative displacement then? What will I write here? Relative displacement is equal to, speed, that is horizontal velocity, or I can directly give you the equations now. See, actually this is equal to u cos theta multiplied by the time taken to move from A to B. I am supposing that t is the time taken to move from A to B, the time taken is t, then it is now the velocity responsible for moving in this particular horizontal direction is the u cos theta velocity only, not the vertical velocity. So this is to be divided with the time. For time to cover between A and B. Now this will directly be cancelled off, and that is equal to the u cos theta value. Okay, so what did we infer from this? We have inferred a very important specific relation over here, and let me write you that particular, right here, that particular important relation. See, the average velocity between any two points in the tract of a projectile, or I can say trajectory of a projectile, is its horizontal velocity. So, no matter whichever 2 points they give in the tract of a projectile, if this is the trajectory of a projectile, they can give any 2 points in the exam. Okay, they can say that the first point is here, the second point is here, again the first point is here, the second point is here. Between any 2 points in this particular trajectory of a projectile, then the average velocity is always the horizontal velocity. That is, if this is the u value, then this is theta with which it is projected in the upward direction. So this is u cos theta. So this is u cos theta, which is the average velocity between any 2 points on the tract of a projectile. I hope you get this particular concept. So please make a note of this. Let's proceed to the next question. Okay guys, this is a very standard question that I have taken over here. See, a projectile of mass m. So they have given the mass m projected in the horizontal projection. So this is a horizontal projection, not a vertical projection or an inclined projection, nothing of that kind. They have mentioned it very clearly that it is horizontal projection from the ground. Okay, so this is the ground. From there it is horizontally projected. It explodes. This is I think that is a bomb that exploded at the topmost point. So it explodes on the topmost point like this into two parts. Okay, two masses of, this is masses of equal mass at the topmost point, such that one part is stopped there. Okay, so one of them is stopped over there, and that starts freely falling down. So if this is first part and second part, let's say that this is stopped over there. Okay, that freely falls down. Find the distance of the point where the other part hits the ground from the point of projection. So after some time the second body also will fall. Okay, that will not be equal to the range. That is the point to remember over here. See, had it been the single mass, then it will be directly falling in the correct range of the projectile. But since it is half of that from now on, it will not directly fall on the range of that. So we'll try to find the distance from this particular projection point till the area where this mass is falling down in terms of the range of the projectile. First of all, what is this then? This is range, isn't it? This is the range. Now, I said that at the topmost point, the first mass is coming down freely, so it will be falling here itself. So this much distance, the distance from the point of projection till the point where the first mass is falling into the ground is actually r by 2. Fine. So let's proceed to the further discussions of that. Now, is this a real question of projectile motion? I don't think so. This is the question of the center of mass concept. Here you have to consider the importance of center of mass. Whenever they ask, they are telling they are saying that the mass is actually exploding into 2 parts, 3 parts, 5 parts, whatever. You understand that center of mass will keep on moving in the same direction and it will directly fall in the range. That means whenever it is breaking into 2 parts at the topmost point, the concept is that the center of mass will again continue the path. Center of mass will continue the path and it will correctly fall at this particular moment. This is the center of mass of the entire body. Okay, this is the center of mass of this body. Now it is broken into two. The center of mass of this two body will directly come back. They will keep on going in the same trajectory and will fall in the range of the projectile itself. That is this particular idea that I am supposed to understand here. So displacement of the center of mass, okay, x cm. What is the displacement of the center of mass? Displacement of the center of mass from origin to this particular point, that is the range itself, right? So this is the range itself because center of mass is actually covering the entire trajectory of the projectile motion completely. So this is the range. Now how will you find this? Based on our equations of center of mass, m1x1 plus m2x2 divided by m1 plus m2, where m1 is the mass of the first body, x is the displacement of the first body, m2 is the mass of the second body, and x2 is the displacement of the second body. What is the mass of the first body? This is m by 2 and this is also m by 2. Masses are equal. M by 2 into x1. What is the displacement of the first body? The first body falls here itself, that is r by 2, plus of m2, again m by 2, multiplied by r2. So I mean x2, that is the distance of the second body when it falls from the point of projection. That is what we are supposed to find out, isn't it? Find the distance of the point where the other part hits the ground. So that is x. Let's take it as x. We are supposed to find x divided by the total mass. That will be directly m itself. Okay, you can cancel m now itself. So this will be r by 4 plus of x by 2 is equal to r. So what is x then? If you solve this, you will get it as the 3r by 2, and that is equal to, yes, 1.5 times r. This is the answer for this question. So did you see this? This is actually a concept of projectile motion, not just projectile motion. It is a collaboration between the concept of projectile motion with the concept of center of mass. Whenever there is an explosion, whenever a projectile is thrown into the sky where it explodes into 2 parts, these two bodies will be moving in their own separate directions. So first mass is directly falling down, isn't it? They will be giving the concept of first mass. Now the second mass is falling at 1.5 times r. That means this much is r. Then again it has covered this much of distance. So this body is actually falling at a distance of this. So this will be r by 2, isn't it? R by 2, and this is r. So this is the distance traveled by the second mass, and the center of mass keeps on continuing its trajectory and it will correctly fall at the range of the projectile itself. So this is the basic concept of the center of mass being tested over here. You can expect a question like this in the exam. This is actually a very standard question which has been asked in multiple practice tests. If you have the habit of writing, as I am already saying this in multiple videos, all India test series, you will have seen this kind of questions over there. Okay, a very fantastic but yet neat level question. Right, let's proceed to one more question.
This is also a probable question in the exam, guys. So it says that in the above question, just like the previous question that we solved, find the position of the second body if the first body retraces the path. See, here the two bodies have become separated, isn't it? It exploded into 2 parts of mass m by 2, and this is also mass m by 2. In the previous question, this first mass was actually falling downwards into this area. Now it is retracing the path. That means it goes back all the way and it hits over here. It hits the ground at the point of projection itself. Now we are asking us to find the position of the second body. Where will this fall after this? Fine. So this will, as we said, it falls away from this area to this distance, and we are supposed to find this much distance. I am supposed to take this as x itself. Remember, here what is x1? So this is x2, isn't it? This is x1 is equal to the displacement of the first body from the origin. displacement of the first body from the origin. That means it is actually falling back into the origin. So the displacement is equal to 0. Fine. So the center of mass again comes in all the way like this and it falls over here. So this is where the center of mass is landing. We know the concept after this. So obviously we can find the position, or I mean the center of mass, the position of center of mass is R itself, isn't it? That means center of mass is covering this much of distance as in the previous question, that is R itself. So R is equal to m by 2 multiplied by, see what is x1? X1 is 0 plus of m by 2 multiplied by x2 divided by m1 plus m2. M by 2 plus m by 2 is equal to m itself. Again, this is cancelled off. This is equal to, the entire thing will be equal to 0. This will be m by, this is x by 2. So this is r is equal to, 2r is equal to x2, isn't it? So this is the answer for this question. So whenever the first body retraces the path, the second body will be falling at a distance of, this is also equal to r, at a distance of 2r from the point of projection. So this is an important question. Again, this can be another question that can be asked in the exam. Fine, let's proceed to the next question. Another question that you can get over here, and it says that the equation of a particle thrown at an angle theta. So this is the angle theta. Okay, to the horizontal is y is equal to this much. Okay, 40x minus x square divided by 10. Find the range of the motion of the particle. See, what is range? This much distance is the range, isn't it? And now the way to proceed with this is that, see, what happens at the range here? Here, at this particular range, when this reaches over here, fine, the x-axis, the x is equal to r over here, isn't it? The x coordinate is equal to r, but at this particular point, the y coordinate is equal to 0. Fine. Now, what about this particular point? Here, y coordinate is equal to 0 and x coordinate is also equal to 0 because this is origin, 0, 0. But at this point, the x coordinate is equal to r and y coordinate is equal to 0. Only this much of information is necessary from your side to solve this question. Now, see, at this particular point and at this particular point also, y coordinate is equal to 0 and this y coordinate is given by this equation. I will simply equate it to 0. So y is equal to 0. So this implies 40x minus x square by 10. I am taking x outside here. That will be 40 minus of x by 10. Right, this is equal to 0. Two possibilities, x is equal to 0 or 40 minus of x divided by 10 is equal to 0. So I can say x is equal to 400 meter. Tell me which of these is the range. Can x is equal to 0 be the range? No, that means it is the origin. So y equal to 0, x is equal to 0 simply means that this is the origin. Now x is equal to 400 meter, this means that it is the range, right? So the answer for this question will be 400 meter. See, this is a very simple question. You can get this kind of a question in the NEET exam. Never get these kind of questions wrong.
So guys, this is one of the most toughest question that you can ever think of. But yes, even if you don't know how to solve this, please remember the final result. You can directly get this question in the exam. And if you get that, there is no need to solve this again in the exam. Just remember the final result. It is very easy to remember as such. So they are asking us the point. Okay, find the time at which the velocity is normal to the initial velocity. Initial velocity is this, isn't it? I am just extrapolating this like this. This is my initial velocity. At this point, my velocity at this particular moment is this, okay, v, right? This is the velocity at that particular moment. Now, this is actually perpendicular to the initial velocity. So this is how, if I just extrapolate this to the back side, this is where my body is right at that moment. The velocity of the body is like this. Now, if I just extrapolate this backward, and if I meet with this particular extrapolation of the initial velocity, here the angle between these two things is 90 degree. So that is what they are actually meaning by this question. Now we need to find the time at which this kind of a velocity occurs. Find the time at which the velocity at that particular moment is normal to the initial velocity. That means it is perpendicular to the initial velocity. Right, so okay, so this is 90 degree, so this is theta, so this will be 90 minus of theta. Fine. Okay, so this is 90 degree, this is theta, so this is 90 minus of theta. So these are actually alternate angles, so I can write this also as 90 minus of theta. If this is the velocity v, then this is actually v cos theta. Horizontal motion is uniform motion, and this uniform motion is actually uniform at all points. So at this moment the velocity is u cos theta. Here also the velocity is actually the u cos theta itself. U cos theta itself. Fine. Now this is the Vy, the component of the velocity in the y direction, in the vertical direction. Fine. So if I just take up this particular part and if I am just switching this over here, here my body is something like this. This is u cos theta. Now at this moment, this is the v along y direction, right? And this is the net resultant velocity of the body, and this is actually 90 minus of theta. So what is tan 90 minus of theta? This is equal to, in this image it is opposite side by adjacent side. So Vy divided by u cos theta. So what is tan 90 minus theta? That is cot theta. Cotangent theta is equal to Vy by u cos theta. Fine. So this is cos theta upon sin theta, that is equal to, see what is this Vy? I am supposed to substitute something in place of that. I can't just simply read this Vy again and again and again. See, this is actually vertical motion is uniformly accelerated motion. So any equation of uniformly accelerated motion is possible over there. So I am using this equation, Vy is equal to uy minus of gt. So this is u sin theta minus of gt. Fine. U sin theta minus of gt divided by u cos theta. Now this is actually a negative value, isn't it? So I will just put the modulus here. See, the velocity by sign convention is towards the downward direction. So if this direction is taken as positive by me, then I will have to take this direction as negative itself, isn't it? That is why we substitute minus g over here. So I'm just putting a modulus sign over here. Direction is negative, so the value will be, the sign is also negative. So for proper application of physics, I'm just applying the minus sign over there. So let's proceed with the further discussion with this. So this will be equal to u cos square theta is equal to, see, u sin theta is a value and gt is a value, and if you take the values outside, if you just find the net value, you will get it as negative. Why? Because the velocity is in this particular downward direction. Fine. And this direction is taken as negative by me. So if you do this particular expression, if you do this particular solution, you will get it as negative. That is why we kept the modulus, isn't it? That means gt is bigger than u sin theta. That means gt is bigger than u sin theta, and that is the reason by which the net value comes out to be negative. So if I am just taking it out of the modulus, I can write it as u sin square theta minus of gt. Actually, the point is, again, there is a modulus inside this, gt sin theta. Okay, I'm just multiplying this over there. So since gt is bigger than u sin theta, point to remember is that if I take it out of the modulus, I will have to write it as gt sin theta minus of u sin square theta is equal to u square cos square theta. It is u cos theta, cos square theta. Okay, so from here time is equal to, see, u cos square theta plus u sin square theta. U is taken outside, so u multiplied by cos square theta plus sin square theta, that is equal to 1. So this is u divided by g sin theta. Finally, I have this particular equation. That it took so much of effort from my side to actually understand this and solve it in front of you. It was a bit challenging because I'm not a physics teacher as such. I am a medical student in third year of MBBS. Now I am doing this at this particular moment. So just because my teacher had taught this particular equation in the class, and he himself had told me that there is no need to understand the way you can, if you want to remember the way by which we have derived, which is well and good, it is the way by which we should approach physics, that is, everything is right. But if you don't have time to remember all these things, at least remember this particular final equation. So if at all they are asking this question in the NEET exam, you can have an upper hand over there. So I don't think anybody will be able to solve with this much of, concept. Only the most brilliant students will be able to solve this in front of the exam and that particular stress moment in front of the question paper itself. So at least remember this particular equation. So the time taken for the velocity to be perpendicular to the initial velocity in a projectile is u divided by g sine theta. Fine. Okay, so with that, I am just winding up this particular video. So we are left with certain important concepts in projectile motion. So we are left with things like, complementary angle projection. I will just tell you those things. Okay, if two projectiles are projected in complementary angles, if two projectiles are simultaneously projected in angles which are complementary to each other, like say 30 to 60 or 45 55, then you have two equations over here, that is T1 T2 is equal to 2r by g, and r is equal to 4 root of h1 h2. So these are the two important equations that you can learn from here. From here you can solve any questions asked from complementary projections. Okay, and we do have another thing that is called by the name of horizontal projection also. There are certain standard questions to be solved there also. So in a separate video we'll be discussing complementary projection once again along with the concept of horizontal projection. Now projection along an inclined, see this kind of an inclined projection, like you have an inclined plane like this and you are projecting the projectile from here in this particular direction, so it goes all the way and hitting this area. So this kind of questions are actually of a much higher level, not expected for NEET exam. So if you are preparing for the NEET exam, no need to go for inclined projection. Okay, so restrict yourself to horizontal projection. We have completed everything regarding horizontal projection here, and I had made a video consisting of two questions which are, absolutely standard questions, very good questions from the topic of horizontal projection. Now we have a complementary projection. That means two projectiles are there. If this is theta 1 and the other projectile is actually projected at an angle of 90 minus of theta. So this angle and that angle are complementary to each other. Then you will be solving the questions based on these two equations. Fine. So this is just to remember. No need to solve this. If you want to derive, you can derive that also. You can have a preparation. You can have a work of deriving this, so you can understand the physics in that particular concept of complementary projection well more easily. So these are the two equations to remember so far as our complementary projections are concerned. Other than that, we are just left with the concept of horizontal projection. So that will be covered in a separate lecture. Okay, so with that, we are winding up this particular video. If you like this, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to receive instant notification whenever I upload a new video on YouTube. Thank you.